Welcome back to Game Talk from the Bench. I'm your host, Drew Barreto, and today I'm here with my guest, Andrew Barreto. Today we're covering we got a little bit of hockey news for the first time ever, even though we're not hockey guys. We got a little bit of news to talk about. MLB season's now in week three, so we have a little bit of things to talk about there. And then we got some more coaches firings in the NBA, and NBA seedings are coming down on the final week. So we'll start off with hockey. Alex Ovechkin passes Wayne Gretzky for the most goals all time. The other day they lost 4-1 to the Islanders, but he tallied his 195th goal, and he did it in one less game than Gretzky. Um, and that's big. Like I said, I'm not a big hockey guy, so I don't really know much. But yeah,
when you
Gretzky was
you
there.
know when you pass that guy, right, Wayne Gretzky, he's got a
Yeah.
statue over there at what is it called now? It was Staples Center, and they keep changing the names. What is it over there in
Oh,
LA?
crypto.
Crypto. He's got a statue there. Whenever you're passing a guy like that, it's a big deal. And yeah, I don't think I've watched hockey since Wayne Gretzky was played, but yeah, no, this is a big deal, and yeah, that's a huge accomplishment for him.
Yeah, like I said, I don't watch hockey, but Wayne Gretzky's a name I know because it's so big and popular. And Ovechkin passes him in all-time goals, and Gretzky wanted. He said someday someone will beat his record, and when that happens, he wanted to be the first person to shake their hand. And obviously, that did happen. Gretzky shook Ovechkin's hand, and he also wanted Ovechkin to shake the hand of the person who passes his record if it's ever broken. So, a very cool
Nice.
moment. It's very big. Obviously Ovechkin back in I believe in 2016 he himself said, you know, I don't believe anyone would break this record, and yet it's funny because then he then proceeded to break it. So it is a very cool moment to see, especially for all the hockey fans out there. We're from the Bay Area, so the Sharks haven't been too great recently, but they do have the young stud and Celebrini, so hopefully they're on the come up in the upcoming years. But
Yeah.
moving on to the MLB. Like I said, we're on week three, and there's some teams that stand out. I mean, in the AL West, both the Angels and the Rangers. Angels are 7-3. Rangers are 8-4. In the American League Central, the Tigers are 7-4. They are ahead of the Guardians and the Royals. And then in the American League East, the Blue Jays are above the Yankees now. The Yankees, start off the season, I believe it was what 4-0. They have since lost five. In the last 10, they're 5-5. And then the National League, Mets are 8-3. Phillies are 7-3. They lead the East, and the Cubs, who lost their first two games of the season, when they played the Dodgers in Tokyo, have since bounced back. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they are now 9-5. And then in the NL West, the Padres, Giants, and Dodgers. Besides the Giants are 8-2. They were first place for like a day in the West, but the Padres are 9-2. Dodgers are now 9-4. They've lost a couple of the last games, and yeah, it's a very competitive um
The star.
league.
There's
Yeah.
so many games in baseball, right? That it could, yeah, things are going to switch around. And it looks like, yeah, the Cubs 9-5 from what I see here. They have the lead there, and we were just talking earlier before we started recording. With the Giants, they were in first place for what, like a day, and then well, the Dodgers were what, undefeated, and then next thing you know, then they dropped several games, and now statistically they're third place now, a game back from the Padres. Um, but yeah, things are changing, and so much for the torpedo bats, right? The Yankees ended up going on. I guess that was just something to talk about, and uh,
Yeah.
obviously not affecting. They're still 6-5, and you know, looks like Blue Jays. They'll be fighting with the Blue Jays and Red Sox, and it's still way early though.
Yeah, we're very still early in the league, and yeah, after those first couple of games, we haven't heard much about the torpedo bats. Obviously, many teams placed orders for them, and I believe many players are using them, but that hasn't been big in the past week. Not much talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely gonna be in the National League. There's definitely gonna be some very good teams, at the end of the year that are gonna miss the playoffs. You know, obviously the top three teams of each division make it, and then plus three wild cards. So it's gonna be tough because like I said, the NL West, they have, you know, the Padres, Giants, Dodgers all up there right now, but the Diamondbacks also are a very great team, even though they're only 5-6 right now. And then in the East, you know, Mets, Phillies are great. Braves are only 2-8, but they're still a very good team. So, uh, yeah, you know, a lot of things going on in the baseball world. But like I said, we're only in week three. Still probably what 140 plus games left. So
There's a lot, yeah.
yeah,
there,
there's
there,
we'll be covering as the season goes on. But in the NBA, you know, only a couple games left in the season before playoffs started, and the Nuggets fired their head coach and their GM, Michael Malone. Was fired a few games left before the season. You know, the Nuggets, they were 47-32. They're the fourth seed in the West, and they fire their head coach. I mean, it's just like I said with the Taylor Jenkins firing. Like, it's just mind blowing that you get these teams that are in the playoffs with good seeding are firing their head coach.
yeah. And these coaches, they got winning records. Like you brought up Jenkins and then Malone. That's all they do. All they've been doing since they became head coaches is winning games and just Malone had he's on his 10th year, 9, 10 years, something like that, and I think he's only had a couple years where he didn't have a winning record, but especially after only a couple years since he won the championship and took the Nuggets to the championship and they won that. Yeah, it is shocking. It's like you must have a better plan or something. I don't know what uh, there's rumblings that there was him and the GM. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I think it's Calvin Booth. That they were not seeing eye to eye, and that was something that they're actually not renewing his contract either. So so they'll have a new GM and a head coach, and right now the interim is I believe his name is David Adelman. Let's see, I had it here for a second. Um, but he sounded familiar to me. His dad, Rick Adelman, was a one-time Warriors coach long ago, and then battled with Jordan when he was the Portland Trailblazer coach, and he was a uh, he was a good coach, and so now his son's taking the reins of the Denver Nuggets, and I guess he's been the lead man, the second man over there next to Malone for the last 8, 9 years or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, he Malone was in his 10th year. He only had two losing seasons with Denver, and it was his first 2 years. He went 33 and 49 in his first year. Then he went 40 and 42 in his second year. But after that, since 2017, he's had nothing but winning records. I mean, they were just champions 2 years ago, and you know, like I said, they were the fourth seed. They were, well, I think a game or two, 1.5 games behind the Lakers for the third seed. It's not like they were in like trouble of missing the playoffs or anything, and
Right.
they fire him. Like, obviously, like you said, there might be some stuff behind the scenes that we don't know. But in 10 seasons of just winning basketball games, it's just like I said, mind blowing that these guys are these franchises are getting rid of their head coaches that have done nothing but take your team to the playoffs. You know, obviously most coaches, you know, sometimes struggle with that. They struggle, you know, coaching those big games. But Malone, I thought, has proved himself to be one of the best head coaches in the league. Obviously, I mean, it helps when you have a player like Jokic and Jamal Murray, but you still got to be able to coach those guys and, you know, the guys around them. And, you know, I thought, you know, winning one championship is hard enough. You think that would solidify yourself another 4 years, but I guess teams have been looking other directions. You know, other coaches that have won the championship have been fired, like the Mike I think his name is Mike Budenholzer. He was
Yeah.
the Milwaukee coach when they won the championship. The guy from the head coach from the Raptors, Nick
Nick
Nurse,
Nurse.
he won in 2019. He got fired. I mean, it's just, you know,
It's
you
just not
sometimes
safe. Yeah, not
Yeah,
safe for the
it's
coaches, right?
I guess it's not. I mean, Joe Mazzulla today, he's the head coach of the, Celtics. Obviously they won the championship last year and they're the second seed in the East. And he says, every day I wake up and, I could, be gone. You could be fired. I mean, it's just unbelievable what some of these owners and franchises or where they're going with and the direction of the team, especially with a team that's been winning. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, just this looks like they want to go a different route. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. But yeah, all I know is if we had a coach that was successful like that, and I bet you they're scratching their heads over there in Denver because this is, and the timing is way off too. I mean, you could have waited till after maybe they see how far they got in the playoff, they would get in the playoffs and before making any decisions. But you're doing it right now. Same thing with the Grizzlies. You're doing it right now, right before playoffs is about
Exactly.
to start. I just think when that happens, I mean, I guess it could be a boost, and you try to get around your new coach and you want to play hard for him and whatever that may be, but it also could go south real quick. It could just be like, hey, these Grizzlies and Denver are going to be like, struggling down the line because you're going to have an inexperienced, although he's been there, Adelman has been there for the right hand man for 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it is, um but he's also young. I think he's 43 years old or something like that. So he is young, and it's going to be inexperienced when it comes to these playoff games, especially when you're going up against like a veteran like Steve Kerr, or um, uh, the other guys too. I'm drawing a blank on the. Well, JJ Redick. JJ Redick is he's a rookie coach too, pretty much.
Yeah, the
Um,
coach for the Thunder, he's not a rookie, but he's still pretty
yeah,
young. Mark
yeah,
Dagnall.
right.
Rockets have Ime Udoka. He's been in the finals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Timberwolves have Chris Finch, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers have Ty Lue. So yeah, there's a lot of experienced coaches especially in the West. And like you said, the season's about to end soon. Like regular season, playoffs about to come up. It's
Yeah,
just like, how do you not let these guys just finish off the year? Because like you said, any of these teams in the West could win the championship. You know,
right.
and the Nuggets and Grizzlies have great teams. They could win the championship, but yet you fire your head coach, and now you got an assistant coach who's got to lead these teams through the toughest games of the year.
A lot of
And it,
pressure.
yeah, a lot of pressure, and it's just like it's head scratching. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the Eastern Conference doesn't have teams like this. Like the Bucks are 44-34. That Doc Rivers is still their head coach. Obviously,
Yeah.
Pistons having a good year. They're 43-36. But I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, obviously there was some things that Malone and the GM was it Calvin Booth they didn't get along. They were talking behind each other's backs, this and that. But it seems what I think it seems to be is before Taylor Jenkins got fired, he got into I believe it was a little altercation between one of his players when they were in a timeout, and then a couple of
Huh.
days after that, boom, he was gone. Other day, Michael Malone was at a press conference, and he was talking about some of his players, not watching film, being prepared for the game. So he was basically calling them out to
Yeah.
have some accountability, and then boom, next thing you know, he's gone. So I mean, I don't know if these owners are siding with the players. Maybe these players are speaking up to the owner saying, "Hey, we don't believe this guy is the right guy for the job." But I mean, from a fan standpoint, that all we mainly see is, what they have out there on the court. We see their record, we see how well they play. We've seen their accolades, and like I said, it's just mind-boggling that these guys are getting fired when all they've done is win.
Right.
And it's not like they had a bad season or so. These guys have just been constantly they've been there, and now they're gone. And it's like, well, I guess anyone could get fired. Like you said,
Oh
anyone
yeah.
could get fired nowadays. It's like the Warriors are right now they're the eighth, currently the eighth seed, and
One
it's like,
day, one day, right? We're gonna hear it. I mean, all
yeah,
coaches end up. Phil Jackson ends up. I don't know if he got fired. Just say that's it for me, or they either stop coaching, or yeah, they move on to another team. I know Doc Rivers has been around the block. Uh, Ty Lue, he's been with the Cavs and other teams, assistant, head coach. So yeah, they move around quite a bit. It's funny. I'm looking at Michael Malone's Wikipedia, and it's updated already. April 8th, 2025. They fired Malone and general manager Calvin Booth. So yeah, this Wikipedia is pretty fast.
Yeah, obviously people update that every day, but another thing I'm questioning is, these are big name head coaches, right? You talked about it when they fired Taylor Jenkins, obviously whatever coach comes in for the Grizzlies is gonna have a great team, but the question is, what big names are available, right? Most of these big name coaches are already on a team. Obviously, there's some big name assistant coaches, but sometimes they don't all pan out. Terry Stotts was former coach of the Blazers. Now he's back an assistant with the Warriors. And so to me, it's like, hey, these guys, these franchises are finding their winning coaches, their big name coaches that have been successful in the league. Now, what are they going to replace them with a rookie coach? Are they going to try to find some mediocre coach? I mean, to me, it's just like, who you going to replace these guys with? Because I mean, to be honest, those are big shoes to fill. Winning
Yeah.
coaches aren't easy to come by, especially when they're consistent. So to me, that's just the biggest question: is how are these teams going to replace their winning coach?
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. Yeah, are they going to go young, and because all those bigger names are already taken, are they going to
Yeah,
going to check out the assistants around? Maybe this Adelman guy pans out and shows enough where he gets the job. But like I said, you go to the bench of all these other teams and you start looking to see who's available. And Kenny Atkinson, he was one that the Warriors had tied up for a couple years, and they, Charlotte Hornets were knocking on his door. He went ahead and passed on that one. Then Cavaliers opened up, and he saw a lot more potential there. Took that one, and what are they? They're still the first seed in the East. This guy's won 63 games so far, and so yeah, it could pan out. Or you could go the older veteran route, right, where those guys are just old school. Um, uh, and it's their way or the highway, and maybe they go that route. But yeah, exactly. Who do they get? I don't know. Maybe they're looking towards some of these coaches in the NCAA too. Yeah,
yeah.
it's going to be
There's some, there's
interesting.
some there's some good coaches in college basketball as well, or they could be looking, some former players to become coaches. JJ Redick obviously
Right.
became coach of the Lakers, and now look at them. They won, what, 68 games or 48 games. They're looking great. They're the third seed in the West. But I mean, obviously JJ Redick guy played in the league for a long time. I mean,
And
but most players don't want to become coaches. So yeah, it's very big.
zero experience too from I
Yeah,
believe JJ. I mean, it's same thing with Kerr, right? Like Kerr didn't have a. Uh, I think this was his first head coaching job. I think. I don't think he had. I mean, he went from the TNT booth or the announcing on the court to being a coach for the, and that was the big question mark: was is he going to be? What's he going to be able to coach? And we all know how that worked. Right now, he's in the talks of with Phil Jackson and some of the other great coaches of being the best coach of all time. I mean, so I mean, it could. It's still for Reddick, of course, is his first year. It's still wait and see. Let him get a few more years. But yeah, someone's going to inherit John Morant if he stops playing with guns and if he stops horsing around.
yeah,
He's a talented player. And then they got a good team. Same thing with someone's going to inherit
yeah.
a
Someone's gonna
three-time
inherit. Yeah,
MVP, right?
three-time MVP.
Is that
Eh,
crazy?
yeah, I mean, that's
Jamal
just
Murray, Chris Brown, uh,
Michael Porter
all those
Jr.,
guys.
Aaron Gordon. Yeah, it's a
Aaron
solid
Gordon.
team. They're a solid team. I mean, they're the third,
Yeah,
they're the fourth seed for a reason,
yeah.
right? Same with the Grizzlies. They're a fifth seed for a reason because they're a good team, and it's like you need someone to lead those guys, especially the Grizzlies. They got a lot of young guys. Like you said, John Morant has some controversy with some of the stuff he does. So obviously they need someone who could lead him. But yeah, I mean, two great teams have their good are going to be looking for coaches this offseason, and obviously a lot of people are going to probably try to jump to them because great players on both teams.
Be a
But
good opportunity. Good opportunity. If I had to choose one, I'm taking the Nuggets. Though they just seem already ready to not only obviously compete, but to win another championship with Jokic not looking like he's slowing down by far. That team looks they're dangerous. And you look at the West, and we always talk about how stacked it is, and us being Warrior fans is like, who do you want to play? I'm like, I just don't know. Probably the Grizzlies. I feel
Huh.
that they would go down a little bit more than the Nuggets. Rockets. We saw that game. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that last Rocket game, Rockets and Warriors.
I did.
Ooh, those Rockets are good. They
They
play.
are they are a good team, but I mean, like look at this. Look at one, two, three. I mean, 8 teams in the West have 46 plus wins. I mean, in the East, you only have 4 teams.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, at some point, I mean, do you think the league tries to step in and try to like balance out these conferences? Because I mean, when they did the East and the West All-Star game, dude, the
Yeah.
West beat the East every year. That's why they had to switch to the new format. And I mean, it's at a point, I think something's got to be done. Because I mean, dude, I
Wouldn't
mean, I
that be
get it.
something? What are
All
they?
these
So you
teams,
Yeah. So
all these
you
teams
mean
are great, but
like take like say the Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Nugget, like all those guys make it in, and then Warriors. Oh, that's a lot on the West.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great teams. But I mean, like. Obviously, like they just need the East needs bigger players on their side. I mean, obviously, like the West. I mean, look at Luca went from the Mavericks to the Lakers, still in the Western Conference. In the East, I mean, nothing big has happened. Obviously, the Cavaliers and the Celtics, Knicks, Bucks are big, big name places with big name players, but that's about it. And the Pistons are still on the come up. But I mean, look at this already. The Eastern Conference, it has its playoffs all set already. The Cavs
Yeah, that's
clinched
funny.
the conference. Celtics are going to be the second seed. And after that, all the normal, the third through sixth seed is set. All that's got left to really be played is the playing games and the
Mhm.
positions, I guess. But if you look in the West, nothing besides the Thunder and Rocket are confirmed.
Yeah, that looks like it's going down to the end there because yeah, all the way down 7, 8. You see the Kings and the Mavericks hanging on there, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I think with is there any games tonight?
Yeah, Warriors are playing the Suns right now. Obviously, the Suns are trying to make the playing game. They're still three games out of it, 3.5 games out of it. But yeah, look at the playing positions aren't even set in the West. No, nor the rest of the seeding. So it's just like crazy how big of a difference the West and the East are. I mean, we still have, I believe, what are we at? What game set number 79? So there's still 3 games left. Still 3 games
Yeah.
left, and these seedings aren't finalized. It's just
So right now, Warriors are beating the Suns 76-47. And right now the Spurs are up one on the Clippers.
that
It's
that could
it's
be big.
almost halftime on that one.
But yeah, it's crazy how different of like these divisions are like. So right now. I'll go with what's finalized. The Knicks will be playing the Pistons. That should be a good series. Obviously the experienced Knicks teams with the Villanova guys. Will play the young, hungry Pistons. Pacers, Bucks. Pretty sure they've collided in the playoffs the past couple years. Um, we'll see how the Bucks do. We still don't know if Dame's gonna be back at all this year. Hopefully he is. Obviously, Bucks need him if they want to try to go all the way. It's going to be hard to beat the Celtics or the Cavs without Dame time.
Ooh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
in the plan, we got the obviously Magic Hawks play winner 7th seed. Bulls Heat play for a chance to get the 8th seed. So we'll see how that goes for now. And in the West, like I said, Thunder and Rockets, I believe they're solidified and they're 1 and 2 seeds. Um, but as of right now, Lakers would play the Timberwolves, which would be a very great series. Anthony Edwards versus LeBron James and Luca. Nuggets Grizzlies would be a great series. The two interim head coaches would face off, so that'd be an interesting series. And then the plan right now, it's Clippers versus Warriors as of right now.
Yeah,
Fight for that 7th spot, and
yeah.
then
It seems like almost that just needs to settle because it just keeps flip flopping. And I know Timberwolves lost tonight. Uh, where the heck did it go? I saw it. I saw it somewhere, but they lost.
yeah,
There,
but yeah, and then
lost
right
to the
now,
Bucks.
yeah, and then right now the Kings and the Mavericks play each other for a chance at the 8th seed. And another thing I keep saying for the Warriors is they can't be in that playing position. I mean, like I said, they're 0-3 in playing games, so they obviously are trying their best not to be there because they do not have great experience being in that playing game. So hopefully, as a Warriors fan, they make it out. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how these are games. These last this last week and a half is all these games that felt like playoff games
Yeah.
for how because each game is huge for each of these teams. These guys are playing their hearts out. They're not resting their starters, because it's big. Obviously, your matchups are huge in the playoffs. But at the end
Yeah,
of the day,
they were tired on that back to back. What was it? They played the Nuggets. I think it was Laker Nuggets, something like that, where
yeah,
uh, they had a couple games in a row, and yeah, the starters played. They were tired. I mean, these guys
they were tired, but they pulled up. They beat the
they pulled that
Lakers.
one out.
They beat the Lakers, I believe, last Thursday, and then the next day, Friday, they beat the Nuggets. With Jokic and company.
Mhm.
So yeah, well, it's it's gonna be crazy. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's gonna come down to who can win 4 games in a series the most, right?
yeah,
So we'll have to see. Obviously, the teams with most experience end up going the furthest, but there's a lot of hungry teams, a lot of young teams trying to get that experience. So we'll just have to wait and see.
yeah. You're right. This is going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. You're talking about young teams. Yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Grizzlies are a young team. More experienced are the Lakers, Nuggets, Warriors, Timberwolves. I would think they're somewhat still Anthony Edwards young. Um, and yeah, we'll see. It'll be good. It's just we need the West to
Yeah,
complete, and then we'll have a better idea, and then we'll get on again and talk about the matchup.
yeah, most definitely. But before we end today's show, did you? I don't know if you watched it. I didn't watch it, but I watched the end. Did you watch the ending of the college championship game?
I did not know. I missed it.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I don't watch college basketball,
Mhm.
but I had it on for the final 2 minutes,
Okay.
and I believe Houston was up, and anyways, final play, Houston's down, and they didn't get a shot off. It was crazy. The guy, he had a good look. He went up and he just dropped the ball because he was gonna go up and down. And, and to me, that's just like wow. Especially Florida had 2 free throws possession before they went 1 for 2, so Florida was only up 2, so a 3 would have obviously won the game. And the fact that you just don't get a shot up to me, it's just like wow.
Tough. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
tough, especially
that's
to end the
tough.
game on that note.
Hmm.
Well,
But
I'm sure he did. It wasn't easy to swallow too, knowing that that guy, whoever it was, didn't get the shot up, but that hopefully his teammates gathered around them and uh, picked them up.
yeah, but yeah. Congratulations to the Florida Gators. They are national championships for this year. But that will conclude all for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. I'd like to thank my uncle for joining me on the show today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. Don't forget to turn the notifications on. And until next time, stay ready.